Susie,
Rob,
are you ready for next week?
it's going to be an exciting one.
And that is because we are going to be absolutely crammed full of fossil files extravaganza news at SVP in Birmingham.
We are, and SVP being the Society of Vertebrate Paleontology annual meeting, which is on a rare trip outside of North America. How exciting!
Pack your bags. So, Susie, you have been going to the Society of Vertebrate Paleontology annual meeting for ages. Do you want to tell us a bit about what it is?
Yeah, it's the largest conference of vertebrate paleontologists globally. So the Society of Vertebrate Paleontology is kind of our professional society, isn't it? Or one of them.
Hmm.
But it's the vertebrate paleo one. It's predominantly North American, really.
Hmm.
And SVP is its annual meeting, and all the vertebrate paleontologists globally kind of get together and listen to talks, listen to each other talking about their work or presenting posters of their work.
Hmm.
We also have a number of social events, and a great deal of beer is consumed.
So this is, I think, the third time it's come to Europe and the second time it's come to the UK. Am I right?
Yeah, that's right. The last time was Bristol 2009.
Yeah, so I used to go fairly regularly when I was younger, but I mean, it's most of it's dinosaurs and mammals, but there will be some fish fun. But also, it's cool because there's lots of, even if you're not interested in the particular group, there's an awful lot of really interesting new methods on show and cutting edge stuff happening. A lot of new up and coming early career researchers are also there presenting and networking. So we are going to go as fossophiles, a roving reporter style in an experiment where we're going to go and try and meet people and bring you some interesting stuff that we've found is going on. Well, stuff that we find interesting, I guess, and hopefully you will too. It's going to be a bit tricky, I guess, because you're going to be super duper busy. So it may have to be me going and meeting people. You're busy on doing Roma Prize things and all sorts of stuff, aren't you?
Yeah, the Roma Prize is the Society of Vertebrate Paleontology's kind of early career prize, and there's a whole session on the Thursday morning where people apply to be to give the kind of present the results of their PhD research, and you can only do it once, and usually it's right at the end of your PhD. And I always think, don't you think? I'm sure you agree with me that it is the best session of the conference because it's
I think
people,
yeah, absolutely.
it's really like people presenting kind of the end of their PhD. The
Hmm.
presentations are always incredibly slick. They're very well done, but they're also always super interesting. It's always my favourite session. I have to moderate it as well, so I get to have to listen in great detail to every single
Mhm.
talk. So
I think I remember that my shot at the Roma Prize, that was one of the biggest audiences for a talk I've ever given. I think it was big. I did not win. No surprises there. Did you, Susie? Did you win? I'm guessing you would have said so by now if you did.
I did not win either.
No,
Isn't there a
okay.
big joke that no British people ever win?
Well, that's now
It,
it's broken. That's who broke that rule? I
yeah,
can't remember
somebody
now.
did. Somebody did,
Was
but
it ever?
I can't remember. But anyway,
Yeah.
anyway, no, I mean back when we did it, it was uncontested, wasn't it? So it was the only session in the morning. So there
Yes.
was no other session. So everybody in the conference came.
Mm.
So I mean, I don't know, maybe we did it at the same one. I think I did it, must have done it at Ottawa. I think it was then. I can't
I
remember,
think
but
if I could dare to say it, I think you're slightly older than I am, so you might have been doing it the year before. I don't know if you and I were in the same
or
session, or
or I just did my
or
PhD faster. It could have been that I just finished my PhD quicker.
yeah, Captain
But
Speedy.
anyway,
Yeah.
anyway, when I did it, there were 1,000 people in the room,
Blimey.
give or take, which I was
Yeah.
thoroughly enjoyable for me because there's nothing I love more than an audience, Rob.
Well, also you were talking about stegosaurs. That's SVP, fodder, right? For me, I was talking about Paleozoic fish. It's a bit of a harder sell for me, I guess. But that's I'm being too fruity here about this. So, what are you looking forward to for this year's meeting?
Well, I mean, yeah, other than the Roma session, which I think is always great. I mean, I just am really looking forward to catching up with all my mates, really. I think it's
Hmm.
really nice to see people who, you don't see from, for years and years at a time and catch up and find out, what they're up to and
Yeah.
what they're doing. And it's funny, isn't it? Because, this is our job, but at the same time, we've grown up with all these
Yeah.
people, they're
Absolutely.
also our closest friends. So it's yeah, I'm looking forward to that really.
I mean, you and I actually haven't seen each other in person since the fossil file started, I think. So
No,
that
that's
might be,
true.
we might need to actually see each other in person for that. That'll be a bit
Oh,
weird.
that would be nice, wouldn't it? What are you looking forward to?
Well, on the first day, there's a lot of Paleozoic fish stuff happening, which I'm looking forward to. I won't be able to get it all because there's, two things on at once, which is a bit tricky. The ancient biomolecules session I'm looking forward to. There's going to be lots of talk about taphonomy. There's a lot of taphonomy talks coming. A lot of people rotting stuff and decaying stuff. So I'm a bit of a weirdo, and I like those sorts of things. And also seeing lots of people. I haven't been going to SVP for ages because it used to be hard for me to justify international travel. Since the kids were young, I haven't been doing many international meetings anymore. So, but it's coming to Birmingham. I think as they're coming all the way from North America to our side of the Atlantic, it feels like I should at least make the effort to go 2 hours down the road and go. But it'll be my first SVP in many years.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
I'll tell you what I'm also looking forward to. This is a weird thing to say, I guess, is that I'm looking forward to trying to generate lots of content for fossil files. So it's given me an excuse to like ask various people to meet. Hopefully we're going to end this chat and then completely segue into me stood in a corridor with some extremely bad audio trying to have a discussion about what research people have been doing.
Well, this is the podcast with the highest production quality on Spotify, as we know. So I'm sure it will fit in perfect.
Yeah. We also have Steve Brussatte on the line for a different episode. Steve, what are you looking forward to at SVP next week?
There's a lot of things I'm looking forward to. Mostly is seeing my students there, giving posters.
Nice.
For many of them, it's their first posters that they're doing at a big conference, and a few of our posters are on sky fossils here in Scotland, Middle Jurassic fossils. And one of our co-authors is our dear friend Doogie Ross, who just passed away about a week ago. And so his funeral actually be during SVP. So it's in a bad timing there, but I think fitting in a strange cosmic way that we'll be presenting this new research that he has mentored students of mine to do this work, and it'll be presented at the conference. So more Jurassic footprints and bones and stuff from sky.
Nice. So I guess you and I, we have some students in common, I guess. Natalia was Jagielska was a student here in Manchester, and then she's gone and joined your PhD with you. Yeah, what's she up to now? Has she gone to Poland? I'm not quite sure.
But now she's doing a postdoc in Hong Kong.
Hong Kong.
In the
also, I noticed that.
I don't know.
Lovely. I noticed that Natalia had some lovely paleo art associated with your science paper. That's nice.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So we had her do the piece that we put out, with the press release, and tried to get on the cover of Science, and that Science used, inside this piece of this Alamosaurus kind of being blown apart by the asteroid. Yeah, she did great. And I think, as we all know, just like getting good visuals into a press release, something's really important. But nowadays, like, there's just so much AI crap, just absolute slop. And we wanted to, not that we could avoid that, but we wanted to produce something that was, kind of catastrophic and really visual, bombastic, but that was like a genuine piece of art by an actual artist, like, that knows what they're doing. And so Natalia's great at these kind of things. But most of her art's really cutesy. And so really fun for her to like do a, genre breaking, it's like, I don't know, Springsteen doing the Nebraska album or something. It's like Natalia's now doing this catastrophic mass death instead of her cute, fuzzy, furry little big-eyed pterosaurs.
So thinking ahead to SVP Birmingham, I think there is going to be some paleo art themed events going on there. So we'll look forward to that there. Yeah. Right. Thanks, Steve. Okay, our next guest at SVP is somewhat the man of the moment. I don't know if I'm embarrassing him by saying that. This is Stony Brook's Dr. James Napoli. He has just this morning presented 2 talks about the Nanotyrannus papers that you've had and some new stuff. So, James, welcome. Thanks for joining Fossil Files. I've never seen SVP like it. I just went to your Nanotyrannus talk. People couldn't get in. They were being turned away from the door. I've been going to SVP for a while. That's the biggest I've ever seen.
It was pretty incredible. I couldn't believe the audience when I turned around at the podium and looked out on everybody. I felt like it had multiplied by like 2 or 3 times. It was really incredible.
There is a hunger for the Nanotyrannus thing, so it's caused quite the stir. So I guess if I could start with a slightly controversial question, well, not controversial. People are obsessed with this. They're very excited about it. Yeah. Maybe this is down to the quality of the specimen, but ultimately it's a taxonomy question. So how many? I guess I should introduce to the listeners. We're dealing with the controversial taxon Nanotyrannus, which has been for a long time unsure about whether it is or isn't a valid taxon, as you introduced in your talk, and then your fantastic new specimen that you published with Lindsay Zano. how long ago now? A few weeks ago?
Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
So it came out in Nature, and you presented a beautiful specimen that answered that question. Why do you think people get so excited about this question?
I think people get excited about this for a few reasons. I mean, one is that T-Rex has this kind of gravity well around it where there's so much attention towards this animal, and I don't think it's incredibly undeserved. It's a very cool animal, right? It's cool that it existed, and I think there's an inherent interest people are going to have. And so the idea that there's this mystery about what T-Rex's early life looks like is really fascinating on that level. I think the other reason people are interested in it is that Nanotyrannus is a wonderful encapsulation of so many problems that we deal with in paleontology. And I think to some degree, it's almost attracted all of that attention that could go to every other taxonomic issue that we have where we think something might be a juvenile of something else. Not in a bad way, but that it's essentially magnetized all of that energy towards it.
Yeah.
So there's all of these very strong feelings about what the animal is and how we should do science, how do we do taxonomy, what kinds of traits do we expect to change during growth, what do we think ontogeny can look like. All of that is part of the Nanotyrannus debate. And so it's a wonderful encapsulation of a huge part of our field, and I think it's many people's first exposure to it, and so I think that excites a lot of people. It was certainly mine.
I think that's true. I think I guess that's a good answer, because when I think about my undergraduates, I'm not, if I want to talk to them about, trying to identify taxonomy or phylogeny or different kinds of paleobiology issues, if I do it with Paleozoic fish, that's a harder sell, even though that's what I do, but also, I guess the other advantage is that a lot of people have spilt, as you presented in your talk, you showed that a lot of people have spilt a lot of academic blood over this conversation, which I guess you guys have, I wouldn't say the word solved, but you provided a big, significant chunk of information. So that's down to this amazing specimen. So this is the fighting dinosaur specimen.
Dueling dinosaurs.
Dueling dinosaurs. Okay, so
the North Carolina Museum's trademark office would hate it if I used the wrong term. Yes, dueling dinosaurs.
So this is an amazing specimen that the museum was able to get a hold of. So that's quite the tale. How did you manage that?
Well, it was a very, very long-term fundraising campaign. I think I wasn't part of that. This all happened before I joined the project. But it was multiple years of fundraising efforts with major corporate donors and large numbers of small donors, all organized by the Friends of the North Carolina Museum, which is a charitable organization that benefits the museum. And so it
must have been quite expensive. We're talking how many, are we allowed to disclose how much it went for?
The number is not disclosed.
Undisclosed, but we know how much some of those private ones, we can speculate, I guess. Well, I can speculate, fossil files fans can speculate. So tell us a bit about the specimen, because I guess people might not be familiar with it.
So the dueling dinosaur specimen refers to a pair of dinosaur fossils that were collected in 2006 in Montana. One of them is this Nanotyrannus that's formed the focus of a lot of my research and work with Lindsay. The other specimen is a beautifully preserved Triceratops that has, become the redheaded stepchild of the pair a little bit, because
it's attracted a lot less interest.
A lot less interest, and it's a beautiful specimen in its own right. I think there's a lot of good science that's going to be done on that, and some important questions that it'll be able to answer. But the Nanotyrannus has obviously been the main focus of the specimen for a long time because it is a 100% complete dinosaur. Every bone in its body is represented. So there is nothing missing.
Every bone?
Every bone. It's one of the only theropods that I can say that about.
I wasn't paying enough attention. Every bone, blimey.
Every bone, yeah.
So this is an amazing specimen.
Yeah.
So you and Lindsay have been working on this for how long?
So I joined Lindsay's lab in 2022 as a postdoc, right after I finished my grad school work at the AMNH. And then now the paper's published in 2025, so that's a little over 3 years since I joined the lab. But a lot of what went into the paper was also drawn from the last 2 years of my PhD research on crocodilian ontogeny. And so there is about 5 years total work in the paper.
What came across, because you've done all the different things with the histology. You mentioned you did the histology. You didn't. So those histological sections you took of the tibia, the fibia,
femur and tibia.
Sorry,
it's fine.
You didn't actually. Are those from the dueling dinos? Good Lord, that's. That must have been a bit of a fly by the seat of your pants moment. I'm now about to chop one of the most famous new specimens up.
Well, the benefit is that one of the legs was initially, from what I understand, the initial discovery of the Nanotyrannus specimen was done when they hit the legs, what they thought they were digging out overburden around the Triceratops quarry.
Okay.
And so we were able to piece back together the limb bones and take sections of the bones that were more damaged. So there are complete, and as far as we know, unaltered limb bones on the other side of the body. They're still being prepped out, but we had some natural breaks to take.
That makes sense. I just when you said that in the talk, I had this idea that you've taken a hacksaw to this amazing specimen. No.
Well, we would have though. It's so important. We contemplated doing more sections of like the humerus and other elements, but we decided it probably wasn't necessary.
Oh, just to explain to the listeners why this is necessary is because to get the histology is going to give you a direct answer about whether it is or is not a juvenile, and therefore really central to the whole question.
Yeah.
So you had a massive crowd, created quite the stir. I mean, you probably have noticed that a lot of, like, I don't know, online corners of paleo, less academics, but academics too, but mostly the non-academics have been very excited and hyped by this whole thing. What has the reaction been to the Nanotyrannus?
It's been incredibly positive. I think a lot of people are very happy to see not only that the debate is probably over. I think we tested the hypotheses so thoroughly that I personally don't see many ways that the debate can continue. I imagine there will be quibbling over particular characters or some edge case possibilities, but I think the general answer has been accepted by everybody who used to think the opposite opinion, which is just that Nanotyrannus is indisputably a real animal. And many people are very excited that the debate's over. I think many people are even more excited that it adds this unexpected wrinkle into our understanding of the ecosystem T-Rex lived in, and shows just how much science still needs to be done on these animals, right?
So, I mean, have you had any naysayers?
Naysayers? Not really. We have had a few of our colleagues who were previously of the opinion that Nanotyrannus was a juvenile T-Rex have maintained that Nanotyrannus is maybe its own thing, but is a close relative of T-Rex.
Okay.
I don't think that's the case. Some people have said that they still think the Jane specimen, which we think is the second Nanotyrannus species, they think that's actually a juvenile T-Rex. Now, I disagree. I expect that the remaining debate that happens is more going to be about what is Jane, because Jane is different than all the other nanos in some ways, and is very different from a T-Rex. And so while I think it's more likely to be a second Nanotyrannus species, there's ambiguity there that I think will furnish a little more discussion.
So you're now at Stony Brook. Is that what the future holds for you, or are you doing other things? I mean, you've been working a lot on fossil ontogenies. What's next for you?
Well, I mean, I'm going to stay at Stony Brook for probably as long as I can. It's a wonderful group of researchers. It's one of the only places in the U.S. where there is a Department of Anatomical Sciences. So I work in a department with other anatomists and paleontologists. We all work on the same kinds of problems. It's a wonderful community. I love my colleagues. Obviously, who knows what the future will hold long term. As I continue developing my research program there, I'm trying to take what I've learned about ontogeny and apply it at a more integrative level to our understanding of the fossil record, taxonomy and systematics, but also just how we understand the origin of novelty. Right? We always say that ontogeny is when novel traits appear. Right? That's changing how you develop is going to give you new traits. And what I think we can do is use what I've learned about what kinds of traits don't change as an animal grows and are therefore likely to be more diagnostic to help us make more realistic models of character evolution, which might help with systematics.
Well, and this is a language I like to talk, because I've been, me and some of my team have been trying to do that with the Paleozoic fish. Or we've got a third element where we've been trying to look at ontogeny and phylogeny and taxonomy taken apart, and also taphonomy, because we're looking at the characters. I guess because we're looking at the soft body stuff, that's a problem. But I guess for you, taphonomy is rarely a problem. With the dueling dinos, there's such a beautiful preservation.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we don't have to deal with that as much of an issue of, like, are we not seeing character states because of taphonomy? It's usually just, is it broken or is it not? But I will say that I think that there's a lot of really exciting work to be done, because as we, on a very basic level, even if I never develop a new model or anything, I think we need to pay far more attention to traits that are to some degree architectural, like placement of foramina and sinuses, than we have historically in these analyses. And it's really affected the way that I hunt for characters when I'm building new phylogenetic matrices or revising old studies.
More phylogenies is what we like to hear.
Exactly, and that's what I think we always have to do.
One final question for you, I guess. So whilst you have drawn massive crowds, what are you looking forward to seeing, or have you seen yourself or other research?
Oh, well, so, I mean, my favorite talk that's happened so far has definitely been, the two tyrannosaur talks prior to mine were great. I really, really enjoyed seeing them because they dovetailed in very interesting ways with what I presented. One of my favorite talks was from a colleague at Stony Brook talking about the new canicnathid specimen. That talk's embargoed, so I can't go into details, but it was beautiful and a lovely talk. I'm really excited to seeing some of the talks that come up later in the meeting, but I'm even more excited to just finally be able to talk about all of the research questions that I've thought about with colleagues here, now that this huge thing that we had to keep a secret for a long time is out.
I guess this has been weighing you down. You haven't been able to talk about this until now. Now you can go and talk about it.
I've had to be very oblique in how I discuss any of these issues with colleagues, and I think, now that I can say, well, because Nanotyrannus is real X, Y, and Z, I just think it's going to really be a wonderful meeting of me talking to colleagues about interesting questions and potential collaborations that doesn't have this kind of elephant in the room that we have to talk around while we're doing it.
Okay. Thanks, James Napoli. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. Pleasure to meet you too.
Oh, And one final thing that I forgot to mention is that you've got your own YouTube channel, right? What's the content and what's the name we're talking about?
So our channel is called Skeleton Crew. It is me and 4 of my close colleagues and friends in paleontology, and we do a varying kinds of content. We talk about depictions of dinosaurs and other prehistoric animals in media. We're increasingly talking about new scientific papers and developments in more detail, and we're trying to really be. What we always say for the channel is we want it to feel as though there's a group of scientists in a room talking in an accessible way. And if you're somebody who's interested in the science, the door's open for you to come and join.
Great. I'll have to check out Skeleton Crew. Was that what it's called? Yeah, okay.
Thank you very much.
Have a look. Okay. Hi, Fossil Files is very happy to welcome Yara Haridy as one of our first guests from the SVP live interviews. Hi Yara, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk to you.
Yeah, so we are hoping to try and meet people and ask them about the things that they've done and that we find interesting. You know that we find you interesting because we already have covered your Nature paper earlier this year. So obviously, as a quick reminder, we talked about your paper where you looked at these Cambrian bits and pieces that were like the earliest vertebrate biominerals, but now they're not.
But were they? Yeah, exactly. But they were crabs.
So what's the sort of reception been to that? Have people been...
Yeah, we became really big in Japan, turns out.
Oh,
yeah.
Is that because of Sakamambaspis or some
I
other
really
reason?
don't know.
Okay.
It's so most of the news coverage, over 70% of it is from Japan, and then there's a whole chunk is from China, and then the rest is North America. It's been really good. It's been by far my most covered paper, and everyone's like, "What do you mean crabs and teeth and Cambrian bits? What are you talking about?" Because it has so many weird aspects.
So is that some of the stuff still ongoing, or I mean, when you and I spoke about it, I don't know, 2 years ago.
Like 2 years ago.
You were working on this massive database that was going to be really powerful for stuff. Are you still?
We published the database. It's open for anyone to use. Yeah, absolutely.
I missed the data. I was too busy reading the glossy images in the front.
Yeah, no, I mean, all of it, it's mostly invertebrates. That's probably why you were like,
oh, I see. Invertebrates. Okay.
But it's mostly invertebrates, but it's invertebrate biomineralization bits. So we have parts of echinoderms, we have parts of crabs, we have parts of horseshoe crabs, the antennae of like different lepidopterans, we have shrimp bits and how the different cuticles look like. Yeah, so that's all. I'm
going to have to check that out after this. So, but the other thing that happened this morning was that I gave my talk, you gave my talk. Now, from some horrible cosmic accident, you and I were unable to be at each other's talks because we were in opposing sessions. Sad noises. Now, so what were you talking about this morning?
So today I got to cover a new project, which kind of came from our big synchrotron session from that same old project. We were scanning all bits of Astraspis, this Ordovician vertebrate. And so we scanned a bunch of them, and what I saw was the evidence of secondary osteons, which are a go-to marker for remodeling. And the conventional wisdom back in the day was that earliest bone did not remodel as extensively as later bone. So we were pretty excited about that. So that's what I basically presented, just earliest remodeling. How do we know it's remodeling? It looks really weird in some of these Astraspids. It's not consistent. So like you scan one scale, you scan the other. It was like maybe less than 50% of scales had any evidence of remodeling. So it's really bizarre. Is it it depends on maybe where we're getting them for the body, but Ordovician vertebrates don't have a whole lot of really well-articulated stuff that people will let you sample, so who knows where these came from on the body. So yeah, there's still a lot of really open questions, but we basically dragged the ability to remodel all the way down to the base and origin of vertebrate bone.
So that's quite a kick up the arse for ideas about bone evolution then, I guess?
Or
kick up the bottom, maybe you would say.
I mean, you're the one who's editing this, so I'll tell you.
Okay.
But it's more of like, people have floated these ideas, which is like, have things been acquired piecemeal as bone evolution went on, or was everything kind of latent and just like sitting at the base and just depends on when it gets activated? And it seems like it's the latter, that everything shows up at the beginning. It's really weird because these early vertebrates, as you know, like don't have osteocytic bone. They have aspidine, quote unquote, or an osteocytic bone. So that just means their bone doesn't have osteocytes. So all of the physicians and people I work with are like, what do you mean? What do you mean bone without osteocytes? What do you mean bone without osteocytes can remodel?
I see, because this is a weird panoply of tissues they're not familiar with.
Well, it's also, we think of bone biology so backwards, right? We look at this very pruned tree of life, and it tells us this is how bone works, but it's based on 3 mammals.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, as far as we know, osteocytes are the ones that orchestrate remodeling. They're the ones that sense bone strain. They're the ones that actually help with growth orchestration and a bunch of other things. So how does bone do bone without them? But again, we're looking at things very backwards. So it's kind of fun to freak out doctors, but it's also interesting to bring that down and be like, well, maybe that's a secondary acquisition that osteocytes got from something else.
I should have done a bit of introductions to who Yara was at the beginning of this. I'm now making apologies to Yara. So Yara's a Canadian who's done a PhD in Toronto. No, it wasn't Toronto. Was that your master's? Master's in Toronto, and then PhD in Chicago. No, PhD.
Master's in Toronto, PhD in Berlin, postdoc.
Oh,
in
I'm
Chicago.
sorry. I'm forgetting
It's
out
okay.
Berlin. I missed out Berlin. Apologies. But you're in Chicago now. So you go to SVP fairly frequently, I'm guessing. What are you looking forward to, or what have you seen this year? Or is there anything you've seen this year already, or something you're looking forward to this year?
I mean, the synchrotron symposium this year was
There was a lot of good stuff in there.
kick-ass. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
So far, this SVP has been really nice, really inspiring. Lots of fun work. Lots of students doing really interesting things. You know, I feel like I'm already becoming a senior around here. In that, you know, one of the first SVPs I went to, people were introducing what synchrotron was. They're like, look at this, we applied this here, and now
We've got
the
a whole
students
session on it, and the students doing it. Well, they
and
were
the
raised
students-
with this, right?
Exactly.
This isn't exciting and new to them. This is just standard.
Exactly.
I'm now looking to see if I can see any grey hairs as you.
Oh, there's a couple. There's a couple.
in there.
But it's true. It's just interesting, and now they just do it as a matter of fact. This is one of the ways we test this blah, and it's just one of the ways people do things before they start to prep things. And everything's changed so much I've been in paleo less than 10 years, and it's already changed so much. It's been so nice to see.
It's mad to think that you would have to have a particle accelerator as a starting entry level to get into it. I can assure you there's lots of type of paleontology that you don't need it.
I agreed. Agreed. It's also nice to see that there's a lot of people doing more modern comparisons. So, like some of the early fish sessions today, there was a lot of scanning of modern contemporaries and looking at like brain space. So that was really nice. I feel like that's also been a change.
I think so too. I think, well, we need the data set, right? I mean, if we've got these high-powered images of a fossil, then I guess we actually need something to compare it to, which, I mean, people don't routinely go on, high-powered X-ray of a platypus might not necessarily be something that was motivating a zoologist, but we need that data in order to compare it with the mammal record.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Anyway, other question, I guess. So I introduced you as Canadian, but you're also Egyptian Canadian.
Yep.
So you've spent a lot of your career in Canada and America and Germany, but Egyptian paleontology is having a bit of a moment.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of exciting stuff coming out of there. A lot of that stuff is, as far as you and I are concerned, much more recent, right? We're talking about Cenozoic things, but I don't know if you've been keeping an eye on it or having much connection to what goes on in Egypt.
Yeah, so I definitely touch base with Hisham Salem's lab. Often it's the big revolution that's happening in Egypt when it comes to paleontology is actually just one little scrappy lab who bets way above their weight average. That's not the right term, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
And yeah, there's Cenozoic stuff, but there's plenty of early dinos. There's some weird fish. They're also getting some soft tissue preservation with some of their fish stuff.
Soft tissue preservation.
Yeah, you should definitely contact them.
Okay.
There's one little fish that has its fin up and it's preserved all silly, but it's just such an untouched area. There has been work done there by Europeans for a long time, but then they kind of just left it. And then there's so much more to be done. There's crocs, there's everything.
Lovely.
So Hisham has a lot. He's a mammal paleontologist first and foremost, but he has students that do croc stuff, fish stuff, dinosaur stuff. So I'm very excited to see what comes out of Egypt in the coming years.
But what about closer to home for you? What's happening next in Chicago?
I have started Colorado fieldwork. Not quite Chicago, but I'm digging in the Ordovician. I'm going fishing in the Ordovician.
Oh, good. Well, Ivan's here. You're going to go and chat to him.
I'm going to go poke him a lot. Yeah.
Okay, because he spent a lot of time with my namesake, who, as far as I'm aware, we're not related unless there's something going on there.
Do you remember when I first met you and I was like, oh my God, you're Astraspis paper, blah, blah, blah. And you were so nice. You were such a kind man that
this happens all the time.
I know, but it was so embarrassing. I wanted to blink out of existence. I wanted to cringe out of existence.
As is always the case with those cringy moments, the other person has almost certainly forgotten it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you, Yara. Enjoy your meeting, and I'll catch you later on. Right. So, that was day one of the Society of Vertebrate Paleontology meeting in Birmingham. I'm going to try and track down Susie and bring you some more chats and conversations with people tomorrow. Bye. The Fossil Files was presented by Robert Sansom and Susanna Maidment. You can find more information, including links to the original papers that were discussed, at fossils.libsyn.com, and you can contact us at fossilfiles.pod@gmail.com.